Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Building Babellion, episode 13. I don't know. I don't have my PA to tell me, so we're just going to say it's episode 13. Here we have our lovely guest, the woman, the womyth, the legend, Kerlin Pyun. Nope. Okay, you can go ahead and introduce yourself and correct me.
Yeah. Am I supposed to look at the camera?
You can look at the camera, look at me, whatever you feel comfortable with.
He didn't prep me for this, guys. Yeah, I'm Kerlin Pyun. I'm a junior theater major, also getting my certificate in classical voice. Yeah, I'm from New York City, but currently residing in Philadelphia. And yeah, I'm not a concentration in theater. I'm just a general theater major. Yes.
I see. There was something I was going to ask you. Oh, do you have any socials you want to plug?
Oh my
Instagram,
gosh.
TikTok?
My TikTok?
Yeah, we were talking about TikTok.
That's so funny. I mean, sure, if you want to give me a follow on TikTok, it's kerlin.not.carlin.
Yeah.
And my Instagram is currently Kerlin's Corner on Instagram, my public account. That'll be changing soon, but you can hit that up. And then I'll have some Broadway On Broad stuff to plug later, but we can get to that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So we're gonna do a new little fun segment on Building Babellion. Just a little icebreaker question. Very simple. We're gonna do it. It's gonna take 3 minutes and then we'll move on. Kerlin, pancakes or waffles?
This is a hard question because I'm a pancake gal.
Okay.
Specifically chocolate chip pancakes. Specifically the ones that my mom makes for me. But as I've matured, I understand why waffles are technically better.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm very loyal to pancakes. And that's my take on it.
Right. An honest opinion from Kerlin. You heard it here first,
I'm
folks.
nothing if not honest.
We appreciate that. I'm also more of a pancake guy, I'd say.
Nice.
They're just better.
They're simple.
They're simple. Straightforward, easy.
Yeah.
I just need something simple in the morning.
They do have that fluffy quality that's just so good.
Exactly.
That was a little ASMR. I'm sorry.
It's okay. All right, so Kerlin is many things, one of which being an actor.
So many things.
She is so many things, a complex human being. But let's talk about the acting. How'd you get into acting?
So I've always been a performer. I started as a singer. I've been singing my whole life. I was a vocal major in high school. And then sophomore year of high school, I started doing musical theater. So that was kind of my first oh my gosh, I'm acting with singing? Right. That's wild. And I've always loved musical theater, but I never really acted and done stuff like that. And then as I was, preparing to go to college, I wanted to be a musical theater major. That didn't happen. Thank goodness. No shade, not to get controversial. But I, went into general theater and I thought, I'll try this whole acting thing.
Yeah.
And I started doing it and I was like, okay, this is maybe something that I'll do with my singing. It's kind of I'm a singer first, actor second.
Yeah.
And then last year I got cast in one of the Temple main stages, which was a straight play. Thank you. The Laramie Project.
Okay.
And I'd never been in just a straight play before. And I was like, wait, this is really great. And I really like acting and I like doing it. So now I'm kind of pursuing it a bit more.
Wow.
Cast me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the quick rundown, the beginnings of it.
Right. So your high school was, and we've talked about this before, your high school was very much performing arts oriented, right?
Yes. I went to LaGuardia High School in Manhattan. A lot of famous alum. I wore a LaGuardia shirt the other day and someone was like, do you know Timothée Chalamet? And I was like, no, not personally.
Crazy.
But yeah, it was a cool experience. Also really toxic and scary. But yeah, I was a vocal major though. I wasn't a drama major, so I didn't really get to do acting there.
Right.
I was in the musical my senior year, so I had to do a little bit of acting, which was really cool. But yeah, I went to an insane high school, and that's why I'm a crazy person.
That's crazy. So you guys got to like pick a major in high school or a specialization?
I mean, we had to audition. We had to audition to get into the school. It was crazy.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So like 8th grade me had to go in and do auditions for high school.
Yeah. That's crazy. Couldn't be me. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah, props to you. But what made you pick Temple?
I wanted to be in a city, but I didn't want to be in New York. I wanted to get away from home. I also, the more practical reason of I got into Temple, but not for the program I auditioned for. I auditioned for musical theater, did not get in, but they offered me a spot in theater studies. And at the time, I started doing my costume work, and I was like, you know what, let me try this.
Yeah.
I also got into UArts for musical theater, so I would have ended up in Philly anyway.
Right.
And I just was really drawn to Temple. I loved it here. I liked that it had a campus, but it was still in the city.
Same.
I really liked the program. I had a friend who already went here, and she really liked it. So I was like, it just felt right. Every time I came here to tour, I was like, this feels right. So now I'm here.
Yeah. No, that like, when you know, especially when it comes to college, like it's definitely a feeling.
No, yeah, absolutely.
And you just know you're meant to be there. So that's great. That's great that you found a place.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be having this little discussion
we wouldn't have
right
met
here
if it wasn't for
Temple.
Yeah. Sometimes I think about if I like went to
else.
UArts and like was a BFA musical theater major, I would probably current me like would hate that alternate dimension me. I feel like
wow.
I just like can't. I would be insufferable.
Right. How so?
Have you met a musical theater major? Sorry. They know.
I'm sure. I think as artists, like, you have to have a little bit of ego. You have to.
I mean, yeah.
You have to.
No, like, no shade to MTs. No shade. You're very talented, and, like, I have a lot of friends who are MTs, but... You know, there's a reason you hear musical theater major and you go, you know, they're kind of crazy. And like, I am already so crazy. Imagine if I was an MT. Yeah. I'd be insufferable.
Yeah. That's a very interesting bubble. That's a very interesting little bubble. But,
sorry, didn't want to get controversial.
No,
I'm not trying to stir the pot.
Fine. MTs, don't pause. Don't click off the video.
I'm so sorry.
Any of you
just lost your MT audience. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. We're going to move on anyway. So MTs, hang on a little bit longer. Kerlin, what do you like about acting?
Oh, gosh. I think it's just, you know, getting to be someone else and, like, to get in the mind of someone else is really interesting. And, yeah, it's just, like, the whole, like, taking a story and telling it through that lens. I mean, that's my favorite part of theater, generally speaking, is you're telling a story. You get to really, and sometimes a really important story. Like the Laramie Project was such an important story, and it was you know, so great to be able to tell it to like a mainstream audience. And then also I as a performer, you know, I just love performing. I like being in front of an audience. I like the interaction of being in front of an audience. And so like acting in a theater is really cool because you have that energy exchange. Right. And now that I'm kind of like trying to get into film, I'm like, this is also a really cool thing. Yeah. You know, the camera's your scene partner, essentially.
Right.
Yeah. I like it. It feels, I don't know, it's kind of a weird, like, indescribable feeling to me personally. I'm sure. Not to get cheesy, but like, it is kind of like a weird, I can't describe why I like it so much. It just feels right. Yeah. No, because I'm like, that's like, it's great to be that connected to the work that you're doing. I think that's so important, and it's great that you found that.
You want to talk about the Laramie Project a little bit? Because I don't know anything about it.
Sure. So the Laramie Project it's a true story about, an incident that happened in Laramie, Wyoming. And gosh, I'm going to get the year wrong. It was in like the 90s, I believe, or late 80s, early 90s. Oh gosh, I hope I didn't get that wrong. I'm so sorry if I did. It was so long ago. I haven't thought about the show in a minute. But it was about Matthew Shepard. He was a gay college student, and he was the victim of a hate crime. And, it was an incident that, like, it rocked the nation. Like, everyone's talking about it, and there were huge candle vigils, and, it got mainstream, like, media attention.
Right.
And he did die. He was beaten to death. And it was, obviously that's really tragic and really sad, and thankfully we live in a time when, like, that's not as prevalent,
yeah.
but it, people still get hate crimes, and like people still get slurs like thrown at them. So I think it's important to tell these stories because it's not a play just about it. It's a play based off of interviews from people in the town, which is also, it's an interesting format.
Yeah. That's
so I played like 4 or 5 different characters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very cool. That's very cool. Yeah, I feel like art is just a great medium to tell stories like that, to tell meaningful, impactful stories that a lot of people aren't exposing themselves to. Yeah. And that human component can definitely be the difference in whether you or how much you impact somebody.
Absolutely. I mean, again, that's my favorite kind of theater is when you can tell a story in a way that makes it accessible. Yeah. But it's an important story. Because the small, like, art can change people's minds. Yeah. No, again, not to get cheesy, but like, it's really true. Can. Like a film or a play, like that can change people's minds.
Really make you think. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, but the other interesting thing about art that you kind of brought up, because I was in class one day and we were talking about like film and how art really needs an audience in order for it to like kind of be art, because that whole subjective nature of it needs to be interpreted, it needs to be consumed, and especially with theater, there's an exchange going on there. Yeah. So, do you get nervous?
I mean,
when going in front of an audience?
I especially more like, it's been a long time since I got to perform in front of a live audience, thanks to a certain global pandemic. Miss Rona. But I would say, like, I get the normal stage fright. Yeah. But I've been performing, like, literally my whole life. Right. So it's not as scary or crippling as, like, it could be. But, I mean, of course I get, like, the, like, nervous jitters. Yeah. But it's more excitement than anything. Yeah. Because I love being in front of an audience. Right. So it's more exciting than it is, like, terrifying. Yeah. No, that's good. I can get in front of an audience, but like those pre-show jitters, like they'll really knock me out. Yeah. Like the nerves and everything. Which is why I give actors, especially theater actors, so much credit. Cause that's like, it's not easy. It's not easy. But what don't you like about acting? Oh, if anything? I mean, so it's not controversial. There's so many people who feel this way, but I'm someone who, like, doesn't really love acting classes. Like, I totally, like, I understand the value of them, and I'm not saying this to undercut the value of, like, learning different techniques and, like, knowing that history, because it is important, but it's just never been something that, like, really clicked with me. I'm kind of just someone who, like, give me the material, like, I'm gonna work on it, and give me notes, and, like, I'm gonna try to do it, like, and it's kind of sounds like awful, like, because it's not like it's not like I know how to do it without all of that stuff.
Right.
It's more just that it's harder for me to do it with that stuff. Like it's harder for me to get that stuff. So
yeah,
it
gets in the way.
It doesn't get in the way because it is helpful, but it just like for me to get what I need out of it is harder. So like
that's interesting.
Acting training is sometimes hard, but I do get something from it. It takes more for me to get something from it.
Yeah.
I also hate improv. Don't ever ask me to do improv.
Me too.
Like, don't ever ask me to do improv. Like, that's like my biggest fear going into a theater class or an acting class. Improv. Like, that's when you said icebreaker, I was like, get out of here. I'm leaving. I'm getting up. Like, again,
so
hand
funny.
me a script,
yeah,
and I'll do it.
Yeah,
but don't make me make something up. Don't make
me. What about that is like daunting to you? I
feel like I have nothing in my brain when someone tells me to do something. I'm like, speak, literally, it feels like my brain is empty, because I'm not a creator. I'm someone who like takes what someone else did and makes it happen. Yeah, I'm not necessarily like the person who came up with it. Right.
That's that's an interesting way to think about that. Yeah.
Not to say that I don't love my acting classes, but sometimes it is a little like, ugh.
Yeah. Well, how do you think you've developed as an actor from freshman year to now?
I mean, I have grown so much. And I think half of it was confidence. Because I truly went into acting as like, you know, I'm not very good at this. Yeah. Because again, I was a singer first. And like acting to me was just something I was like, I know I can do that while I'm singing, but I don't know if I can do that with just words. Yeah. So a lot of it was just finding my confidence. Yeah. But now that I'm like, feel like, like I am an actor, like I can confidently say I'm an actor. It's just changed my mindset altogether. Right. And also now, because I've done more classes and been in a show and whatever, like I have just more tools to be a better actor. So I've grown exponentially. Right. Since when I started. Right.
Was there a moment for you? Like a specific moment you can trace back to?
Well, before I got cast in the Laramie Project, I was considering giving up on acting. Wow. I was in like 2 acting classes at the time, and I was just like, this is not for me. Like, I'm not vibing with these classes. Yeah. I feel like I can't get anything out of them. Yeah. This isn't working. Should I just give up? Should I do something else? Right. And then I got cast in a show, and I was like, me in a straight play? Yeah. That's whack. What? And then I did it, and I was like, not only did I feel like I did good work on it, but I was like, it just boosted my confidence. I was like, wow, okay, this is something I can do. That was a big turning point for me where I was like, okay, wait, maybe this is something that I should actually consider, because I loved doing it. Yeah. And now I'm like, yeah, I mean, I love acting. Yeah. Like, give me a scene. I'll do it. You've given me a scene that I've done. True. And I loved doing it.
You rocked it. You rocked it. That's, yeah. What do you think is your strongest quality as an actor?
Oh my goodness.
What can you say that you like, I bring this to the table? Okay. If you can say anything.
This isn't really specifically about being an actor, but I'm very good at taking notes. Like, a director will give me a note, or like a teacher will give me a note, I will take it. Like, I'm never gonna fight them on it. Yeah. And as long as I like understand what it is that they're telling me, I'll take it and I'll make the adjustment. Because and I'm not like, I've been told by teachers before, like, oh, you're really good at taking notes. Which isn't necessary. I mean, that is a strong suit, because then it makes me easier to work with, and like I can grow more easily because I can take a note and just be like, internalize it. Okay, cool. I'm gonna make that adjustment. Keep going. And I also, again, this isn't specifically about acting, but being in an industry like this, I have a thicker skin. Yeah. Like, you know, I don't take things personally when something happens, and like, you know, I take rejection in stride because you have to. You cannot get caught up on stuff like that when you're in an industry like this. You just can't.
Right.
And so those are just like qualities as a human that I think help me as a performer and as an actor.
Were you always like that? Or do you think you learned that over time?
I think I've kind of been like that for a while. I mean, especially going to the high school I went to, like you had to get a thick skin.
Yeah.
Because it, you know, it was crazy.
Right.
I mean, we were taught to be professionals from a very young age. I mean, we were like, what, 14 when we started high school?
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, this is how they're going to treat you in the real world.
Right.
Like, yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Oh my God. All right, back to my PA. Oh my God. Ooh, what has acting taught you about life in general?
Oh my gosh. I think just, you know, trying to see things from other people's perspectives. Just getting more in touch with, like, emotion, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know. I mean, also just, you know, getting the material and, like, reading different things. And, I mean, I hate to keep referencing Laramie, but it's on the brain. But, like, I didn't really even know about who Matthew Shepard was.
Yeah.
And then I did this play, and I was like, oh, my gosh, this is, like, you know, an important thing.
Right.
That, like, I should have known about.
Yeah.
And so it just, I mean, it's helped me grow, like, emotionally as a person, like, just in my brain as a person. Yeah. Yeah. My brain's just so big that I can't even think of something else to say.
No, you're absolutely fine. And, like, I think acting as an art is so interesting because you have to, like, it's so personal and it can get personal so easy. Yeah. And you really have to know yourself and explore different aspects of yourself in order to do certain roles and do certain things.
Absolutely. And, like, something that I've really been trying to take to heart recently is taking, you know, if you're having, like, anxiety or negative feelings around maybe what you're doing, take it. And I had a teacher tell me, take your anxiety and give it a task. Like, channel it into your motivation and, like, what you're doing in this scene or in this monologue. Yeah. And that's also really important.
Right.
Just generally speaking, also to kind of deal with that in my everyday and then also as a performer.
Yeah, I'm sure. Wow. All right, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's get off the acting train. Hop onto the costume design train because, again, like we said before, Kerlin is many things, and one of those things. Knife. Yes, a Swiss Army knife. Okay, she's got the knife. She's got the corkscrew, the spoon. I don't know what else is on the Swiss Army knife. Anyway,
they don't have spoons, just so you know.
They don't have spoons.
I don't think so.
Well, wouldn't you need a spoon on a Swiss Army knife? What if you got to dig?
I don't know. Anyway,
right. So costume design. What drew you to that? When did you start?
So I'm just gonna say, like, generally costumes, because I didn't start out with, like, designing. So junior year of high school, I was not in the opera, but I was like, I want to work on this. I had a lot of friends in it, and I was like, how can I be a part of this? And I was like, you know, I can help out backstage. Like, I know how to sew if, like, you need costume help. And they're like, oh yeah, totally. You can be the wardrobe supervisor. I was like, on my first show? Okay. So I became the wardrobe supervisor for that. I got in touch with, like, the costume designer on that, he was kind of a jerk, but whatever. He was, like, an adult. And so I started wardrobe supervising, which just, you know, I was helping organize the costumes and get people in and out of costumes, and I was also helping with, like, sewing and alterations and stuff, which I really like sewing. I taught myself how to sew when I was in middle school. Oh my God. That's also part of it. Right. And then costumes have just always been something in theater that I was drawn to. I remember I saw Cinderella, like Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella on Broadway that was like one of my first shows I saw, and if you've ever seen the costumes from that show, they're brilliant. I mean, because you can imagine Cinderella like twirls and then her dress changes, like stuff like that. I think is it makes a show for me.
Right.
So I was like, okay, cool. Like I'll work on a show, do costumes, and then it kind of just became a pattern of like I'll audition. If I don't get in, I'll work backstage.
Right.
Do costume work. I'll be a dresser. I'll be a wardrobe supervisor. Whatever.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. And then it kind of got to a point where I was like, but I'm a performer. Like, I'm a performer.
Yeah.
But I really like doing this. Like, this is fun. And so then got into college for general theater. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this as a sign that I should try this out.
Yeah.
Because as a general theater major, I'm able to do all of that stuff. Like I've been able to do acting and now wardrobe stuff. So I got a job in the costume shop. I worked in the costume shop, and then I took costume design last semester. Last semester. And it was really interesting. Yeah. And the reason I like caution against calling me a designer is because I've done it. I've costume designed a senior thesis film, and I've done some production design stuff, which I'll talk about how I got into film eventually. Yeah. But it's something that I know I can do, and I've done it, but it's not really like a passion of mine. And again, it's because I feel like I'm an executioner. I'm not exactly the person who wants to be coming up with the ideas. Yeah. But it is something that's like cool, and like, you know, if you ask me to do it, I'll do it, and I do enjoy it, but I kind of just love just the experience of like
executing,
working on the costumes themselves, and then working with the cast and like getting them into those costumes, and like that's my favorite part of being a supervisor or a dresser is I get to interact with the cast, but I also get to be totally in the, you know, with the costumes, and also liaisoning with the stage manager and the director. So yeah, that was so long-winded. I don't even know where I went.
No, that's great. That's brilliant. And again, I'm going to ask you this question. What do you think you bring? What makes you good at costuming?
Well, I mean, I think the most baseline thing is, as someone who can sew and who can sew pretty damn well, that's important because I understand like the fundamentals of like a garment. Yeah. Which sometimes, you know, as a supervisor, you don't necessarily need to know that because you're not actually working on the costume. Same with being a dresser. Like, you don't actually need to know that stuff. Right. But I think it helps. For sure. And also, in a pinch, like, say something rips. Yeah. You can be like... You can just help to fix it up. Obviously, this is all dependent on, like, whatever theater department you're in. And, like, what playhouse you're in. Don't go breaking your contracts and stuff. But I think that's a big thing. And then I also just... I don't know, I'm organized enough. I am an organized... I'd say I'm an organized person, and I know how to lead a department. Like, I've been a supervisor, and I feel very comfortable being like, hey, dressers, my team, like, this is what you got to do. Like, I'm good at delegating. Yeah. And, it's just, I don't know. I enjoy doing it a lot. Yeah. Right. That's good. Like, I'm like, damn, Kerlin knows her stuff. What don't you like about costuming, if anything? I don't know. I mean, sometimes it's just like a little, like, you know, long nights. Right. Sometimes you aren't with the best crew in the world, and that can be annoying. Sometimes, and this is because I'm also a performer, sometimes I'm like, damn, I wish I was on stage right now. So backstage, which is kind of my internal battle always. Wow. Which, you know, I work in the costume shop, and I'm working on these costumes, and I'm like, these are so nice. I wish I could be. I wish I could be like one of the actors wearing them. Which is, you know, kind of the weird thing about doing both.
Yeah.
Is whenever I'm doing one, I kind of yearn to do the other.
Right.
I think more lately, my passions have really driven me towards the acting and performing stuff more. And that's kind of where my priorities are right now. But I've definitely been in a show and I'm like,
damn.
Oh, I wish I could have worked on this costume. Like, it's so cool.
Right. Wow. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I have to reference my PA because I be getting so, drawn into whatever Kerlin is saying.
Oh my gosh, stop.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Can you talk about, like, a really rewarding experience you've had? On set or... Yeah.
I mean, so, other than theater, I also have worked on film sets. Because my roommate's a producer and she needed a wardrobe person, and so I was like, yeah, sure. First set I was ever on, we were like filming in the woods. It was wild, and it was also a period piece, so I was working with
it was
set in like Nazi Germany, so I was working with like these, kind of intense costumes.
Yeah.
And that was, a really great experience, and since then I've worked on quite a few things since, either designing, production designing. Most rewarding experience though, gosh, that's such a hard question. In theater, I want to say one of my best experiences, maybe not best, definitely one of the most memorable was that first show I did. It was Titanic the musical.
Oh my God.
Which, by the way, is a really good show.
Oh wow.
It's really well written.
Oh, wow.
I know it kind of sounds silly.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful show. I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful show. And it was just, the costumes were all great, and I got to meet a lot of new people, like my roommate. She was in that show. My current roommate, obviously, not who I lived with then. But that was really rewarding. But it was also like the most stressful thing I ever did in high school, because I was kind of thrown into this like leadership position, and also because I was the supervisor, I was telling the actors what to do, and I was a year younger than most of them. And you know how that is in high school.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, what does this junior think she's doing, telling the seniors what to do? And it really, it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot, and it was my first experience, and it was so stressful and so crazy, but I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. And then in film, I've done like some really great stuff, and this isn't the best thing I've been on. It's probably actually the worst project I've ever been on. But it also taught me a lot because it was all overnight shoots.
Yeah.
I was the costume designer, but kind of got thrown into like just the general production design role.
Yeah.
I had to like make two huge, people are going to know what I'm talking about, two huge custom flags like in one night. Like, I basically set up a sweatshop in the basement of this mansion we were filming in.
Wow.
And made these flags. It was literally insane. I'm, like, still sleep deprived from it, even though it's been months.
Wow.
But it was the first thing I designed. And it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was absolutely crazy. But, I wouldn't trade that experience.
Yeah.
Because it was hell, but it taught me so much.
I'm sure. Wow. Yeah. What do you feel like? What do you feel like you learned?
First, just like the dynamic of being on a set like that, where it was probably the biggest set I'd ever been on. Because it was a senior thesis film, and then it also overnight shoots. That's wild, and I'm not gonna do that again. Yeah. Because it was like 4 nights in a row of overnight shoots. I work during the day, so I was dead.
Oh my God.
And I did like make a lot of friends from that. Like, I knew most of these people, but like now we're trauma bonded together.
Right.
Like, you bring it up and you're like, I'm not gonna say the name of it, but you're like, this thing, and they're like, oh no. People are gonna know. If you know, you know. But yeah, that was, I also just really bumped heads with the director on it a lot. And I just didn't love working for him. Or with him, rather. It felt like I was working for him. It should have been I was working with him. Yeah. And that taught me a lot about just like advocating for myself, which I already knew, but it was kind of the most I've had to put it to use.
Right.
Because I really had to just be like, look, this is how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with that because I'm not a magician.
Yeah. Oh my God. Especially as artists, like I feel like it's so easy to get run over, trampled on if somebody's voice is louder than you. So you really...
Absolutely. But I'm very loud.
Yeah.
I refuse to let people trample over me.
Yeah, and that's so good. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between costuming and production design?
Yeah.
I was like trying to think.
So like when you're doing costume design, obviously you're focusing on what goes on the person, what they're wearing, the costume.
Yeah.
Production design is much more general in the sense that, you know, you're dealing with the set dressing. You're dealing with kind of the overall, like, look. Obviously not in the sense of, like, how it's actually going to look because that's the DP's role. Right. But, you know, finding the set dressings and finding all the props. And, you know, this person could also be the costume designer, which I've done both. Right. On the same project. But it's... And also, you know, doing all that research. Yeah. Is this period appropriate? The last project I just worked on was set in, like, if I'm remembering correctly, it was like the 50s. And it was, you know, hard to like find period appropriate stuff, especially on a budget. I'm sure. And it was just a lot of work because I was doing the costumes and the production design. So yeah, it's they're definitely different, but they can be lumped together. Right. I've kind of come to the conclusion that production design isn't really what I want to do. I much rather focus in on one area, aka costumes. But I think it's super important. It's like, you know, especially on an academic level, it's very much overlooked. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm always here if needed to be a production designer. Right. I've been told before, like, Kerlin's the best production designer we know. And I'm like, I'm the only production designer you know? Yeah. And they're like, we know that, but, like, it's... yeah. But, yeah, it's fun. But it's definitely, like, kind of just something I was trying out and I enjoyed, but not something I'm going to pursue. Right, for the long run. Yeah. What do you like about working with actors? In terms of costuming? Yeah, I mean, I get it, because as an actor myself, I, like, get what they're going through, you know, in the process and doing that, and then also just, like, you know, it's nice to interact with people. Yeah. And, like, I don't know, there's something, like, the rush of doing a quick change, like, I have done shows where, you know, we had to change the whole cast in, like, 30 seconds, and it's insane, but it's really fun to just like, oh, we're going. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing for me. And also, this is a little like off topic, but because I mentioned that, like, I've done both and I understand both, I think it's super important especially for actors to be on a crew at least once, because you need to know. You need to know, because I feel like a lot of actors don't really see the crew as like people. Yeah. And I think they are, and like that's what makes the show happen. That's what makes the production happen. So, you know, I think, and because I'm one of the people who does both, I think it's super important. But I mean, seriously, like, actors out there, you gotta at least do one thing backstage so that you know what it's like. Oh my god, yeah. Because I'm remembering in high school, because I did drama club for a little bit. There was a whole little scandal because our drama, the head of the club wouldn't let the crew bow on stage at like the end of the production. Yeah, and they were all like, we worked on the set that
too.
Was always my moment.
Just as important.
I was like, I'm taking my bow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and it's because I'm a performer and like I want to be on stage anyway. I'm like, I'm taking my bow. Like,
you gotta take that moment. Again, we're gonna shift gears to Broadway on Broad. Again, Kerlin is many things.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's talk about Broadway on Broad a little bit.
Yeah, so Broadway on Broad is a musical theater cabaret club here at Temple. We do a few cabaret. I was going to say, typically we do 3 cabarets a semester. This semester we're doing 2. We're a club for all majors. We very much encourage that people who aren't theater majors audition.
Yeah.
Not that we don't want theater majors. I'm a theater major myself.
Yeah.
But, it's really for the person who's like, oh, I did theater in high school and I loved it, but like now I'm an English major.
Yeah.
And because we're a club for everyone, and it's really great. We sing, we do a little bit of dancing. It's great. I'm the president this year. I was secretary last year, but yeah, I'm president now, and we're doing some cool stuff. Our first show is it's coming up October 23rd. It's in like 2 weeks.
Temple people, mark your calendars.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then our next show after that is November 13th.
Wow.
So we're doing some good shows.
Yeah, some things.
Yeah.
How'd you get started?
I got introduced to Broadway on Broad by my roommate Conway, who I went to high school with, and she was in it her freshman year when I was still in high school. And I decided to come to Temple, and she's like, you should audition for Broadway on Broad. Like, this is a cool club. I think you would really like it. I was like, yeah, totally. Pulled up to my audition with a broken ankle.
Yes.
And I got into the club, and I just, I met a lot of friends that way. I really enjoyed it. It was a way to perform because, I wasn't getting cast in shows yet.
Yeah.
And, it was a way for me to do musical theater without being a musical theater major.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it was just a great experience. And I absolutely loved it. And because I'm a crazy person and need to be involved, I decided to run for e-board. And I was secretary during the COVID year.
Yeah.
Which was insane. And we had to basically reinvent the club.
Yeah.
And that was, we did an amazing job with it, I think. We did a lot of virtual cabarets. This is what I'm going to plug our YouTube. Go to Broadway on Broad on YouTube. We have 6 cabarets from last year. They're amazing. We did some really great stuff, all virtually.
Yeah.
Josh over here edited some of those videos. And then now we're back in person, which the transition's been a little rough, because this is an e-board that's never done in person because we were all COVID, or some of us have never even been in the club in person. And by some of us, I mean one. I keep thinking that there's more than one person, but we've all been members of the club before, except for the one, but now we're how do we run a club in person? Yeah. So the transition's been a little rocky. I'm not gonna lie about it, but it's we're doing great stuff, and it's just so great to be back in person. I'm sure. Yeah. Talk about the Zoom experience a little bit, because I oh my god, I cannot imagine having to be an acting major in the midst of the pandemic. Zoom plays. What is that? I'm sure it was a struggle, and we thought, how are we gonna do a musical theater cabaret club online? How is that even possible? Yeah, because in case you didn't know, singing virtually, doing vocal rehearsals is a pain. It's very difficult. I'm sure. And so we were like, okay, how are we gonna do this? And we kind of just were like, okay, virtual shows. We're gonna do rehearsals online over Zoom. We're gonna figure out how to do that. Everyone's gonna film themselves at home singing their part, send it in, we edit it, and make it into something. And we made it work. We made it happen. And eventually we got to start putting some choreography into some of the things. It was kind of crazy, and we basically did have to just reinvent the club. Right. But, we made it work as best as we could, considering the circumstances. Yeah, it was tough. I'm sure. Doing Zoom rehearsals is tough. And I don't want to speak for the music directors at the time, but I know that it was like, that's hard.
Yeah.
To teach music over Zoom, it's hard.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. And I can see from like the other end of that, editing those clips, I was like, this is really crazy. Like in a good way, like these people are so dedicated. And especially with the choreography, like y'all were, I was like, from home.
Yeah. I mean, some of our members were like not even around campus.
Yeah.
Like we had a member who was in LA for half the year.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy.